Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is Thursday morning today, and that means it's time to head to the community orchard. I'm here in the community gardens now. The orchard is just over there, and we've got all our supplies ready for work today, and I'll show you what we're doing. We have chicken wire here, and that is to go around the base of the cedar trees. The branches are too low to get the spiral trunk wraps on them, so that'll keep any rabbits from chewing on the trunks of those. Then we've got flat white paint, and that's what will paint the trunks of the trees in the orchard up to about the first branches, kind of waist high. And I've got a brush set here, and we've got containers to put all our paint in, and we'll thin this paint down about 50%, so it'll be half water, half paint, and that makes sure it soaks into all the cracks in the bark. If the paint's too thick, it just kind of paints a layer on, and it just doesn't adhere as well. We've got spiral wraps here. Most of the trees in the orchard have the spiral wraps on them now, but there's a few over at the local that don't at the building, so we'll have to apply those. And we'll have to take the spiral wraps off the trees today, paint the trunks, let it dry, and then reapply the spiral wraps. And that stops rabbits chewing at the base of the trees, which we already have some damage. We've 4 trees got chewed on before we got the wraps, and 2 look like it could be fatal, that they're ringed, which is too bad. I've had this new Brook saddle on my bicycle for about 6 months now, and I'm really liking it. It's starting to get a bit of patina on it too. Bit of wear and tear. Really comfortable. I do my son's papers when he's in school, so I do 25 papers each day. So that means I get on and off this seat 25 times a day. So it gets well used. It's a very comfortable seat. I'm very happy with it. Here I am at the orchard early in the morning. It's looking really good. So this has all been planted this year, the spiral orchard out here. About 30 trees. Starting to look like an orchard. So we're going to do all that trunk painting today. Check the spiral wraps, make sure everything's going well in the orchard. Putting everything away for fall and then winter. Here is our plot where we start our trees for the edible forest. And you can see most of the tomatoes in that have got hit with the frost. So it'll be time to take them out soon. All the ground cherries look really good. They look like they're ready for picking. They're kind of small inside. Here's one. Let me show you this. There it is. It's still green. Ideally you wait till they're red, but it'll probably still taste good. I'll try it now. Not very sweet. Yeah, it's too bad. Looks like they needed a little more time. But the trees are all looking good. Neil has been hard at work getting the cedar trees ready for winter. So he's wrapped the base of them with chicken wire, and this will stop the rabbits chewing through the trunks. And the next step, eventually, closer to winter, will be wrapping them with burlap, just to stop windburn on the trees. So thanks, Neil. That looks awesome. Okay. See you later.
Have a great day.
It looks good.
You're going to have to go look at that plum tree at the garden over there, because I didn't paint it because
Okay.
It was full of goop.
Okay. Kim is going around all the trees, pruning off the lower branches and the suckers, if the top of the tree is strong enough, just so we can apply the paint and the spiral wraps more easily. On fruit trees, you want your lowest branch to be about waist high. Nice. So Sally's here. She's removing the wraps before the painting, and then we paint the trunks, and then now she's reapplying them. Here's an example of a tree I'm painting the trunk on. It's been painted once before from, I think, last spring. And you can see the crevices in the bark there, right here. And that's where the insects will overwinter or lay eggs in those crevices. So we paint over them, and those crevices get filled with paint. Like that, and that helps stop insect damage on your trees in spring. Because the only way an insect can get to the trees, to the upper part of the trees, is they have to climb all the way from the ground, across the gravel, which they don't like, up the white trunk, which they don't like, the paint, because it's not organic at all. And then finally they've got this canopy up top. So yeah, it's good to help prevent insects, this white paint. And the other purpose of it is to reflect the sun in winter and summer. It keeps the trees cooler. And in winter, it stops the one side of the trunk heating up and the other side stays cold, and the difference in temperature causes the trunks to crack. And you'll see that on a lot of trees in the wintertime, is that they'll have these big splits up the trunks, and that's because of the hot and cold. And the white paint reflects the sunlight off of it, and it kind of keeps the trunk a more even temperature overall. So that is why a lot of orchard trees have white trunks. And there is a third benefit, and that is, believe it or not, it helps stop the theft of trees. It doesn't happen often, but occasionally trees will get dug up, especially small trees like this. Someone will come around at night, dig the tree up, and plant it in their own garden. So with a white trunk like this, they're not very attractive looking, and I don't think anyone would want to plant this at their home. It's a beautiful day out here in the orchard. You couldn't ask for better weather to work on trees for the future. I'm back home now after a nice morning and early afternoon of working in the orchard. It was really fun. It's really fun keeping all the trees healthy, and I can't wait till they get bigger and start growing fruit on them. So now it's back to work on the house. I'm working on the plant room, and you can see the roof isn't in place yet. I'm going to be removing these large triangle windows up here very soon. The plan is to lower them down onto the scaffolding that's outside the window with ropes from the top. That's hopefully going to work. I'll give you a view from up top. I'm afraid of heights, and it's pretty scary up there for me. I get scared even on a stepladder. So the only thing that gets me up on that roof is knowing that I'm going to finish the plant room and have all my trees in here. So let's go up and have a look at the view from the top of the ladder. All right, here we go up. And I find the view isn't so bad in here because, you know, I've got the floor down there, which is higher than ground level. But when I come up here and I look down at the ground, it just, I find it so scary. So, see, even now, I'm really scared. There's the steel roof. So that part of the roof is still okay. So here we are, up at the peak here. I'm hanging on for dear life. Yeah, there's the scaffolding, and then you can see how far down it is. Yeah, it just terrifies me up here. Here's a look back at the plant room. Canada Arm is way down below. Okay, this is enough for me up here. So yeah, quite a view up here. So today I'm replacing some of the wood up top there. It wasn't too bad, but there's just one small section that had a bit of rot over there. And I also want to replace the beam that runs across this wall that all these roof joists are attached to. Right now it's split in two for this beam in the middle, but I'll extend it past that gap there and make it more solid. And it has a bit of rot up in the corner up there too, so yeah, I'll be replacing that. Yeah, so everything from this wall in the plant room over will be a new roof. And you can see here when they built this triangle up here, which is just, I don't know if you see all these roof beams are supposed to be parallel to each other, and they're just tacked in there with blocks, and it's just... And then this piece of wood is attached to this rotten beam here, and it doesn't even extend over to the wall to get support. It's been cut there. It wasn't long enough, and then it doesn't attach to anything on this end. It's just screwed to the rotten beam. And same with the one on the inside that they did last year. So he screwed this one that goes across here. It doesn't attach to the wall, so it's just hanging in midair, and it's just ends here, ends up here. So it's not screwed to anything. It's not solid. It's just screwed to this rotten beam that goes across here. So yeah, that's why I decided to totally rebuild the roof and do it myself, because I don't want to pay for something that's just gonna fall in and collapse on me. It's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. Anyway, it'll be done right. It'll be the most solid room I've ever had. Yesterday I got down all this structure off of here, all the overhang and all the, the wood that goes beside the window. So it's basically just the window up there now. And you can see I'll have to do the same for this side. So my plan is to remove this window only, build the roof across, so I'll have something to stand on when I start to take apart this section. That's the plan anyway. I don't know. And I'll have to redo all this eaves troughing. It's just, I'm not happy with that either. It is mid-afternoon now. I have the entire plant room cleaned out. This is the first time it's been empty, totally empty, since it got built in like 25 years ago. So just amazing to see. So I replaced that. I took off that beam going across here. It had a lot of rot on it. There was a beam above the window. Somehow ants got in there and water came in and it rotted out the wood on top of the window. So I'm replacing all that. But we've had quite a few dry days in a row. And eventually it's going to rain. And I'll try and tarp off the roof here, but there's always water that gets in. So I want to waterproof the floor down here. And you can see what I did over here. I painted the tar thinned 50% with Varsol. It soaks into the wood really nicely and it makes it waterproof. It's really good. It also deters insects and anything chewing on your wood. So we don't get termites up here, but we get carpenter ants. They tend to get into wood. So my next job, I'm going to paint the floor with the thin tar, and that'll, make it all waterproof and seal it up. And I was even thinking maybe of putting tar down and tar paper, bringing it up at the edges so there's no way water, if I do spill it on the floor, there's no way it can leak into the crevices of the walls or anything. So it'll be totally waterproof, this entire floor. And that would be kind of nice because I tend to spill things. When you're watering plants and that, it doesn't matter how careful you are, something seems to run down the tables and onto the floor. So that's my next job. I'm going to get out the tar and start tarring. It's not a fun job, but worth it. The plants are still chilling down here in the basement. So they get enough light, I think. The sun comes in through these basement windows and it gives them, enough light to live, I think. I'm hoping anyway, until I get the room done, because I will try and get my LED lights up. I just have one on now, but I have others I can hang up and try and brighten this whole basement up. So eventually I'll get that done. I don't know. I just been busy, I guess, doing the roof upstairs and all that, and get tired by the end of the night, and the last thing I feel like is working overhead hanging lights. I don't know, but I'll have to do it soon. It's needs to be done. On the outside here, we hung up 2 sheets of plywood over the windows down low. That way, when I'm taking out these triangle windows up top, if it does fall strange or something, it won't come down and hit the windows below and break them. So just an extra level of safety protection. I'm not going to do that today, the windows, but that'll be coming up soon. And I'm not looking forward to it. I put a coating of the wood preservative on the floor. So I painted it all over the floor. And that has been drying for about, 45 minutes. So I'm going to add the tar now. I'll start in the back corner and work my way down towards the door. I did have this floor stained, but obviously it's kind of disappeared. You can still see a bit of the gray color on it, but not much. So I think the tar will do a really good job. I've got the first coat of tar on the floor. Let's go in and have a look. I'll have to be careful where I step here. There it is. Looking really good. So you can see in some spots over here where it's soaked in. So I'll need to go over with a second coat and just keep coating it until it all stays shiny, and then you know it's all saturated into the wood. Yeah, so some good progress again today. I've got to build up the structure above the window, put my top piece in along here, and then I can replace the board up there and then put my first beam in along this wall, or my roof joist. Yeah, so that's making some progress. We got another load of wood chips on Saturday. Really filled it up this time. We got some extra buckets in the back. Yeah, a good load. Sure makes it easier unloading, putting them in these bins. You don't have to sweep the whole truck out. It's easier to unload into the wheelbarrow. Really handy. It is getting towards the evening at the end of the day on Monday, and so today I got rid of the metal capping they put over here, and all that capping did was trap water in here, and I drained about a liter of water out of that aluminum capping they had. It was just full of water. All the wood was soaked, and that would have rotted out really quickly. So I've got that drying. I'm going to take that plywood off the bottom, get it all fixed up, stain it all, tar it. I finished taking the trim off the windows up here. So that window is just about ready to come down. And I don't think it'll be too bad if we get a couple of people up there. Then inside, I'll show you that. I made my blocks for above the window, and I've put my second coat of tar on the floor for most of it, except for down here where I have to step. And then, so above the window there, I'm putting a piece across and some braces up. And then I went and I got my 2x4 by 12 foot long to run along the top of the wall there. You can see a piece of black up there that's just temporarily put in there. So it's kind of funny when I'm doing the floor, occasionally a leaf will flutter down. It feels like you're working inside, but then you realize, no, I'm basically working outside. Sometimes it feels like you're not getting much done, but, making progress little by little. And it's getting done right. It's going to be a nice solid room when it's all done. It's the next day. It's Tuesday now. And I checked the weather reports, and it looks like the overnight lows are warm enough to bring my tropical trees back out of the basement. So that'll be good because I haven't watered them since I put them down there. And I think some of them might need some water and some sunshine. It's been pretty dark down there. So that's what I'll start the day doing, moving all my tropicals back outside. I've got all the trees out of the basement and on the benches. It took about an hour, so that's not too bad. And I'm so glad that I made that root over temple planting, the ficus root over temple. I'm so glad I lightened that up, because now all my trees I can lift fairly easily. When I was tarring the floor, I wondered if tar would, leak through the cracks between the plywood and down on the plants below. And they did a little bit. Let's go have a look. Here's the basement now, all empty of plants. So yeah, there's a spot of tar on the floor down there. And it also dripped on my acacias. So let's go outside and have a look at those. I'm going to make this trail along the fence here my new entranceway to the bonsai area. I've started getting rid of all these old saw parts, so this area will be clear eventually. So here's the benches. They're all full of trees again, looking kind of nice. And here's the acacia. So what happened, if you see the leaves there, there's tar dripped on those leaves. That's still wet. And there was kind of a puddle in the soil here, so I scraped that all out. It came off fairly easily. Gave it a good watering, good rinsing. So yeah, nothing got damaged too bad. There's just the one branch got a bit of tar on it here. So that's good. I'm glad, none of the important trees got covered in tar. It's kind of a strange day today. It's sort of a bit of blue sky, clouds, so sort of partly sunny. I've got my trees still in the greenhouse. They're packed in there. I checked the temperature in there. It's a nice 22 degrees Celsius, so, a nice room temperature. Yeah, they're really packed in here. But they're doing really well. They seem to like staying in here overnight, and then I bring them out in the daytime, and, you can see all these canopies are still growing. There's all kinds of new growth. Even my last one I did some pruning on. There's all kinds of new branches coming in on it. That's the Ficus Fancy. My Schefflera is starting to get the new leaves coming in on it. You can see there's some here, back here. So that'll be exciting. I'll definitely take pictures and update you when it's looking its best, when the leaves are just coming in and they're nice and small. It should look pretty good, I think. The next big step for today, or little step, I've been screwing all the screws in by hand, and that's not a good idea for your wrists and your muscles and that. So I've decided I'm going to buy an impact driver, and that'll get all my screws in. I can drill holes with it. So yeah, I've decided on getting a Milwaukee. They seem to be a good brand, good reliable brand, and good performing. So it'll be a cordless Milwaukee impact driver, because I have a lot of construction to go here. I've got all the roof beams or joists to put in, all the structure to build up here. So there'll be a lot of putting wood together, and the nails are good. I don't intend on taking all this down again, but screws kind of position things nicely. You drill the hole in, screw it in place, and it stays put. Whereas nails, sometimes you're nailing stuff in and it tends to shift and that. So, and if you ever do have to take it apart again, if it's screwed in place, you can always unscrew it and take it apart. So I found it actually handy when I was taking apart the structure. Most of it was screwed together, so I could unscrew almost everything. And that's really nice. I haven't received any word of them shipping out the parts yet from LMC Truck. Some of the parts I ordered were on back order. I ordered the fuel tank, the door seals, and a lot of miscellaneous items. So yeah, hoping that comes fairly soon. All right, I have purchased the new tools. And I say tools because I got two. I got the combo set here. It's a impact driver and an impact drill driver. So there's a look at them. They're the fuel, what do they call them, M18s. And I got the one battery charging here. Yeah, so I don't think there's any juice in this one, but when I charge it up, we'll test it out and see how it works. Should be pretty good. They're supposed to be good quality, these Milwaukee ones. Come with a 3-year warranty. It's a little sticky, this floor still. It's not too bad, but just a little sticky. Yeah, so those are the tools that will probably save my wrists with all this screwing that I'll be doing on all these roof joists that have to go in and all these plates and all this assembly. So yeah, I think I'll certainly get my use out of these tools, building this room and my greenhouse, and I can use the impact driver for working on the truck. So I think it'll be a worthwhile purchase. It's a little expensive, but you know, good tools are. I've got the new tools charged up and ready to go to work. So here I go. It's nice having the two tools, so I can have the drill bit in the one and the screwdriver in the other. Next, I'll put in the vertical supports that go above the window. I've got 3 pieces pre-cut, and I put the angle on the top, and I've put the wood preservative and the tar on them, so they're ready to go in. So that'll go in there. Second one, I'll put the longest one in here, and then the other one goes up the middle here. This is the piece of wood that I bought. It's a 12-foot long 2x4, and I'm going to position it on top of the wall so I know if I've got the right height for these pieces. I don't want one sticking up, taking all the load. I want it nice and flush with the bottom of this beam. So I'll get that up in place, just positioning it by hand, not nailing it in or anything, or screwing it in, just resting on top. All right. I'll go up and check my fit now. So when I was taking this apart, I took the old beam off here. I noticed that it wasn't coming up to the bottom of this plate that goes across. And that's where all the bottoms of the beams are supposed to line up to. So I thought, well, that's kind of strange. And you can see right now I have it positioned so the bottom of it is underneath that plate. And then there's a big gap between the uprights and that plate up there. So obviously something was wrong in the original design. And then you can see it's sitting high on this end and it's resting on the middle. So I have got to figure out this angle, and I've got to adjust the height of those plates, or the vertical sections, so they support that plate underneath. So I'm going to have to add some blocks to it or something. Yeah, it's a strange thing. It's just, it wasn't built right to begin with 25 years ago. So now I've got to correct it. So up here, I've got a lot of rot in the existing roof. You know, the fascia board, and that is rotted away. They cut it away for that peak in the middle. And all these beams are just screwed to barn board. There's no supporting structure behind it. It's just terrible. It's not just a terrible build quality. I'm really disappointed with the initial builders. They just seem to cut a lot of corners, which I guess seems to happen with everything in life. People just not taking pride in their workmanship and that, and you know, this kind of sloppy workmanship, it just drives me crazy. Anyway, so that's my problem. I'm up here, I've got to sort this out. So I think, like I said, I've got to determine exactly what angle this is supposed to be, my roof. That's step number 1. Here's the tool I'll use for measuring the angle of the roof, the existing part. So I'll climb up on the roof and I'll set this against the roof, and then I can level the bubble and then measure the angle. So you can see the angles on here. And that should give me a pretty good idea of what the angle is actually supposed to be on the roof. And then I can match that angle with the one up here. And that should get me in the right ballpark, so I'm not drastically out, so my roof doesn't slowly change angle as it goes across. That's the goal anyway. So up on the roof I go to do some measuring. I went up on the roof and measured the angle in several places, and it came out to 11 degrees. And yeah, I checked in several spots and it was very consistent. It came out to 11 degrees. So now I'll check and see what angle this is at, see if it matches. I measured the wall up here. The beam as it sits right now is at 10 degrees. So it's a degree out, which doesn't seem like much, but it is. I've got the beam as high as it can go in this corner. It's up against that board, which means I've got to lower it on this wall. So there's big gaps on this end, so it means I've got to take some material out of these vertical posts in the middle. They're too high. And that should settle the whole top plate down at 11 degrees. It's another day. I never did get my wall finished. I thought I better measure everything, so I was measuring the height from the floor up to where the roof joists go, and it was out by 3/4 of an inch side to side, which is kind of strange, but that's the way it is. So I will be replacing this so I can line it up a bit better. And then I thought, well, I'd better build this wall up here first, where the roof joists will be sitting, to get it the right height to match the beams that are already up there, up here. So with that in mind, I started taking apart the upper structure here. I've got a lot of the plywood taken off, and I'm just cutting off the top there. It's all nailed together, and they're quite big nails, so I'm going to have to use the Sawzall and just cut a lot of it away, one piece at a time, and try and get this structure taken down. And if it rains, well, I'm going to have to do something. I'm not sure what. So that, after I get the roof down, it'll just leave me with the 2 windows and this vertical beam in the center. And then that'll be the next step, taking the windows down. It's the afternoon now, and work is going well. I'll show you what I've got done. So if we look up here, you can see the central beam has been taken down. My wife and I took that down. I had to cut away all these rafters. They were attached to it with nails. So the next step is to get the rest of that roof down, and then it'll just be the windows. Now that I have the room more taken apart, you can see what scared me up here is that all these rafters up here were joined to this piece of wood here, which is screwed to this rotten beam here. If you can see how rotten it is there. And it's not supported this end. See, it's cut there. So that's just screwed to this rotten piece of wood, and the whole roof is being held up by that. And that just scared me. I was like, I can't work under here in winter with a snow load on the roof knowing that is how it's all held together. So that was, one of the main reasons that that I'm doing it myself. I've got most of the roof structure down now. I'll come over here and show you that. So there it is. There used to be the big triangle. Now it's just open sky. So you can see up here, this is the beam that everything was attached to, the whole roof. How rotted it is. Rotted it is. Yeah, not in good shape at all. So all this triangle will have to be torn down, because I'll be, making the full-length beams going right across to this wall once I build this wall up. Get those windows out of here. So that's my next priority, is to get these windows out, to lower them down to the ground, hopefully in one piece. So I think that'll be for another day. So I'm finishing today. Down here, I'm putting my finishing layer of tar on the floor. So a lot of these areas are done already. They've got 2 coats, and you can see they're glossy. But there's some areas where it's soaked into the wood, so I need to add a second coat. And that'll make the floor pretty waterproof. It'll be really good. Here's a shot from the outside. I'm happy with the progress today. I think it, I think I made some good progress. Some days it seems like you just fool around doing something and you don't notice any big difference. But today you can see a big difference. So yeah, the windows are coming down next. It was really fun working in the orchard today. I got home, I had to eat, and then I had to water all my trees. And it was almost the end of the day, so I was kind of tired, so I took a day off, and I'm glad I did. I'll be taking the windows down tomorrow, and I've been thinking a lot about it. There's only my wife and I home in the daytime, so I'm thinking, I was looking at the windows, and they're kind of rotted at the bottom, and I don't want to risk any injury. So I'm thinking I'm going to cover the windows with tape and then break the windows and take the glass out and then just lower the frames down. I don't want to risk any injuries that high up in the air, and we're not going to use the windows anyway, and I don't think anyone else would use them with that kind of rot at the bottom of the wood. I think it's better to be safe than to try and get them down in one piece. It just scares me at those heights, and I don't want anything to happen to me or my wife. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is smash the glass out of them and then just lower the lightweight frames down. I think it's the best solution. So that's going to happen tomorrow, getting the windows down. I've got to get that vertical post down that's between the windows, and I'll have to cut that off. That'll be pretty heavy, so I'll have to be careful. I might have to do in sections. Again, sacrificing the wood for safety. So that's all for this video. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me today in the Bonsai Zone.